like as a sidetrack, you talked about the death of the soul. And what stood out to me is that you did this in a very, very visceral way. You really felt, it seemed to me like you felt the gravity of it. And then when you kind of laid out your own story that you had to stop drinking, had to stop smoking to focus more on your work, intuitively there was a kind of a disparity between how visceral you could talk about the death of the soul and what you described as what that meant for you, which I interpreted as mainly changing your lifestyle a little and focus on your studies. So the question would be that why do you think I saw that disparity? And if the disparity is indeed there, how is it that you can talk about the death of the soul with such vigor?
Well, I do think that there are things that are worse than death. I mean, I think that psychological disintegration might be worse than death because it can go on for so long and it can be so incredibly painful. Yeah. I do think that your point about Commodus is correct, is that the state that he exists in is worse than death. It's hell. Yeah. And now the disparity, I'm not sure exactly what you meant by that. Like,
what I meant was is that you talk with such vigor and in such a visceral way about the death of the soul. And then when you talked about letting parts of yourself die, you said it was stop drinking, stop smoking.
Well, it was irresponsibility, I would say, at least to some degree. It was the letting go of that, because I had to make a choice between something approximating gratifying immediate pleasure seeking and a hypersocial way of being, that wasn't sustainable in many ways for obvious reasons, and doing the difficult intellectual work that I had decided to embark on. And that's a death of a previous personality. And it is trivial in some sense because it's burning off that which obviously needs to be burned off. But I would also say by the same token that doesn't make it a straightforward process. And you alluded to this, you said that you underwent a similar set of experiences where the old parts of you had to die. It's like, well, that's suboptimal and immature as they are. First of all, those are still parts that are alive and still an element of your being. They might even be parts that you love and that other people love. Yeah. And there's certainly things that you're familiar with. They're modes of being that you're familiar with. It's a major sacrifice to let elements of your personality go. It's also, by the way,